Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Now, I know I said I'd only do the event stuff for the next few weeks, but Rock kindly sent me this gift of a Formica Cunicularia colony. Formica Cunicularia is a species that's commonly found in Europe and Asia, and they are very common in southern UK, which is where Dorset is. And along with the free ants, he also sent me some free ant sugars, which my ants are loving at the moment. And you'll even see me give it to the Formica Cunicularia later on in this video. The two flavours that he sent was pink lemonade, which is the one that I give to the Formica later, and famous pancake mix. And even though I'm not an ant myself, it does look quite tasty. And I'll quickly show you his business card. And of course, the Great Ant exhibition is on here as well. And by quickly turning it to the other side, we can see he has tons of information. This includes his shop URL or domain, and then a QR code for all of his social media. And at the top you can see some text, and that's basically just saying what he does on his YouTube channel. And now, it's time for what you've all been waiting for really, the ants. And I gotta say, the way that Ants on a Rock packaged this was really good, as any empty space was filled up with like insulation, so if the queen got bumped around she wouldn't get hurt, and then the actual test tube was wrapped in bubble wrap, and then tin foil to stop any light getting in. And here she is, the queen and her workers. And I know the clip was short, but I'm sorry the footage got corrupted and I can't really do much about it. So we'll get on to the antscanada outworld. You can see that this outworld has a removable bottom, which I'm not that big of a fan of, but some people are. And yes, this outworld did used to have some colonies in it and some other stuff, but I'm not going to get into that as that's too long of a story. So I'll put the bottom back in and show you the rest of the outworld. So of course this outworld has a lid. I mean, what outworld would it be if it didn't? And it's removable, and it comes in two parts. The first part is this kind of outer rim thing that goes onto like the edges of the outworld and basically just holds the inner lid in place. And the second lid, or well the inner lid, snaps into the outer lid and has these tiny little laser cut micro holes, I guess for ventilation or some other purpose like that. And then inside of the inner lid there is a little circle which is like a feeding hole, and it has the antscanada logo on it. And towards the back of the outworld there are these two tubes with removable plugs, and they're basically just for expansion. And then above them are these two like pokey outy things, I've not a clue what they're for, and then some more laser cut holes for I guess better ventilation. So what I'll be decorating this outworld with is mainly sand, and then a bit more sand, and then a bit more. So I'll start pouring the sand in to fill up the outworld. And unfortunately the antscanada outworld isn't that strongly built, so the sand is able to just go straight through the bottom, which is really annoying, so I'm gonna have to make a few quick modifications. So I started by removing the sand, and then I taped up the whole bottom of the outworld so no sand could go through. And hopefully this will also make it a bit more watertight, as in the past I've had a lot of problems with it leaking. And I don't know if this will work, so I'll only put a bit of sand in there. And after a quick shake test, it seems like it's sandproof. Because as you can see, the white backdrop is completely sand free. Hey Antscanada, no hate, but I really think you should reconsider your outworld design, as it's leaking like crazy when you don't have the correct modifications on it. And when you have an outworld that's not even sandproof, I don't really think that it's that safe for ants. Hey, and if you're considering getting one of these outworlds, I wouldn't, because it's not worth the money, as you can get a better one from somewhere like Ants on a Rock for much cheaper and higher quality, if I'm going to be honest. And now that the review's over, it's time to go to sculpting the landscape. Really what I'm trying to do is make a hill, so on the right it will be nice and steep and high up, so the ants have enough room to dig and make nesting chambers and all of that if they really want to. And then on the left for it to just be like a foraging area where they can hunt, drink sugars, all of that stuff. And after a few more top ups of sand, it's getting there. And I want to make sure that one of these expansion ports is at least available, so when they do grow out eventually, I can give them a new nest or outworld for them to move into. And of course, because they're wood ants, they need some pine needles. And I don't want this to just be a barren desert wasteland, so I'm gonna add a nice plant. And I think that the ceramic pot that this came in will be useful for another build. So subscribe so you can see that in a future video. And to finish it off, we'll give it a quick misting and make sure that the plant is adequately hydrated. And although I don't know my plants, I know that this is at least a succulent, and that's it. After setting up the outward, I waited a day and then decided to move them in. And I love this species for their colorations, as they're basically like Formica fusca, but if you added some nice red on their thorax. And it's time to put them in, and I'm going to put them at the top, which is really where I want them to nest if they do nest anywhere. Well, now the test tube's under the sand, I'll pattern it down a little bit so it's more compact and doesn't let any light through. And by having them under the sand, I can just brush it away whenever I want to see them and then put it back. And now the test tube's in place and everything in the outwood is perfect, so it's time to take the cotton out and let them explore. And here you can see the tube is completely open, so they're able to come out whenever they want. And I think it's time for a classic ant store sit time lapse. You can see as the time goes on they get more and more brave and explore further. But unfortunately, because of the low number of workers in this colony, they will generally stay to their test tube and will only send 1 and maybe 2 workers at a max. And well, as soon as they've been in their test tube for a while, I think it's time that they get some sugar. And of course, it's the pink lemonade. And yet again, another time lapse. but for some reason they seem to be a little less confident. As soon as they weren't as enticed as the sugars as I thought they'd be, I decided to give them some protein, in the form of fruit flies. And although I don't think I got a time lapse of this, they absolutely love the fruit flies, and it's been about 3 feedings now and they've eaten them all every time. And as soon as I put them up on the shelf, I noticed some movement, and it was a worker, and they were already exploring the outworld. And just keep this in consideration, they'd only been on the shelf for about 5 minutes, and in the entire outworld for about 20. And I gotta say, watching Formica run around and forage is one of my favourite things, as they have such spontaneous movements and it's just really fun to watch them. I hope that in the future they nest under the plant or in the hill, so I can record it and show it to you guys. And here is a worker that's actually foraging for sand so they can block up their test tube, but unfortunately it's a bit hard for you guys to see as the antscanada outworld is just a bit too blurry. And that pine needle that's kind of sticking out of the ground, he was also trying to get that just a few minutes before. And as you can see at their entrance, they've gotten quite a few pine needles already. But that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.